Hello, everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on April 24th, 2017. And this is the go home show going into the Payback pay per view. And, it's hard to really know how I feel going into this one. There's some stuff that was really good, really good on the show, but there's certain aspects to it that come off a little bit weird because you have two programs, and two of their more major programs that each of the superstars, because of the superstar shakeup, are now on separate brands, like with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. And it's not like they're intertwining them to try to get any actual interaction, with the exception of Bray showing up on SmackDown on the Titantron to give a creepy promo to Randy Orton. But you're not getting any interaction with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho on SmackDown or on Raw or anything in that sense. So they're kind of separated. So it's just kind of promo based, pretty much, between all these between those two programs, and those are considered two of the major programs going into the Payback pay per view. So it's hard to say how they really did going into the going into Payback with this Monday Night Raw, but we'll go ahead and start with the beginning of the show here. They start the show with what was going to be the highlight reel, and of course Chris Jericho is going to try to be his own guest again. He starts cutting his promo on Kevin Owens. It's like how he's going to win on Sunday and how he's going to go over to SmackDown and everything in that sense, and winning the U.S. title. He gets interrupted by The Miz, who immediately says it's like the highlight reel is canceled and it's going to be Miz TV, and Miz starts his normal spiel about how outdated like Chris Jericho is and everything. It's like I like how he kind of goes into he's kind of bringing that whole semi-shoot feel into his promos. It's like Jericho says, like, why are you moving the Jeritron 6000? It's a TV. It's Jeritron 6000. It's a TV. And he goes off and immediately tries to start his Miz TV, where he immediately gets interrupted by Dean Ambrose. I ended up liking this segment a lot, actually. Ambrose interrupts, and basically it's like, you know what? We don't want to see. It's like you don't want to see them, but no one wants to see. It's like you don't want to see the highlight reel, or like Miz doesn't want to see the highlight reel, but no one wants to watch Miz TV. Compromise. It's now the Ambrose Asylum, and they start going off on certain aspects. I like the aspect with Dean Ambrose with Chris Jericho, because they really hadn't stepped too much into it, but into it after their feud. But the whole aspect, and you see this in other chunks throughout the show as well, but the aspects of Dean Ambrose interacting with Chris Jericho and then bringing up their past, such as Jericho mentioned, he's like, you still owe me $15,000 for that jacket, after Dean Ambrose, is like, we had sketchy past. Matter of fact, I kind of destroyed your jacket at one point, and they bring that up. It's like, well, I got you a gift, and Jericho immediately says, it's like, well, the last time I opened up a gift, this didn't go too well for me. And he brings it out, and of course it's like a cheaper jacket just with Christmas lights. And of course Jericho's like, okay, that's kind of fun. That's kind of good. Miz at this point basically tries to interrupt them, and he's doing this whole aspect that he keeps saying no, 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 and the crowd just starts continually doing the yes, yes, yes chant to keep that whole thing going between him and Daniel Bryan, I guess, in that sense. And he tries to basically stop them in the terms of his words. He gets hit with the dirty deeds, and afterwards Jericho puts Maurice on the list. Not a bad segment. It was entertaining. Probably doesn't necessarily do much of anything, because they're not doing a Miz versus Dean Ambrose match on the pay-per-view, I don't think. And Jericho is doing his match with Kevin Owens, though this does lead to a backstage segment a little bit later on, which I'll talk about in a couple moments. But up next was Matt Hardy going up against Sheamus. And I'm really liking what Matt Hardy's doing. Sorry, another itch on the nose again. With this whole aspect of him kind of flip-flopping between broken and not broken Matt Hardy, like doing his V1 mannerisms, but also doing the broken mannerisms with the delete and the wonderful and all that aspect. I think he's even gone to a point of saying that he's torn at this point in time for on like social media and everything in that sense. I like what he's doing with this. He's kind of towing the line with what he can get away with at this point with the character. And we'll see if they do decide to go the full route, or if they're able to get that, get the rights to that through Impact Wrestling and everything in that sense, as well with everything. But with this match with Sheamus and Matt Hardy, I thought it was a good match. The ending to the match came with basically Jeff was gonna check on Matt Hardy on the outside of the ring. Sheamus shoves him out of the way, gets Matt back in the ring, gets distracted by Jeff Hardy, and Cesaro kind of gets him away, which causes enough of a distraction for Matt to hit the Twist of Fate and get the victory. The thing that I liked about this one is that Cesaro becomes absolutely livid. Like, so they do this role reversal where Cesaro is livid about the match, and he kind of goes after the Hardys, but Sheamus is doing everything in his area of staying respectful to the Hardys and everything in that sense to go along with it. And it was a nice little role reversal and everything. They both, all sides shake hands and everything in that sense. And they end the segment. I kind of like what they were doing after this match. It kind of teases towards Payback to see what we're going to get from Cesaro and Sheamus and everything with the Hardys as well. It'll be interesting to see how they play that one off on the actual pay-per-view match itself. You had a backstage segment with Kurt Angle on the phone, and he immediately he doesn't immediately, but he was talking about the Kalisto and Braun Strowman dumpster match for later in the night, but he gets hung up on by The Miz, who interrupts and hangs up on the person, or whoever he was talking to. Maybe they refer to it maybe later that he hung up on Stephanie McMahon. I don't know what they're going to do with that. But Kurt basically, Miz starts arguing with Kurt. It's like, why would you let them get away with that? Everything in that sense, like, and Kurt brings it up again. It's like, we settle things in the ring. Find yourself a tag team partner. Have a tag team match. Go. Get out of my sight type feel to go along with it. Not a bad segment. Again, I'm liking Kurt Angle's interactions with some of the other superstars. He has a little interaction with Maurice afterwards, where she kind of talks to him in French, and it's like, "Well, yeah, back at you." Just he's throwing like those little dry comedy spots in there, and I am liking that little subtlety with having Kurt back on television, at least in the sense of the GM role. Up next, though, is T.J. Perkins and Neville, a tag team match with the Cruiserweight division. As a matter of fact, this is the only thing with the Cruiserweight division all night. So you had T.J. Perkins and Neville going up against Jack Gallagher and Austin Aries. There's not much to really say about this match, other than it was a decent match. Gallagher and Aries go over after the discus 5-arm from Aries to T.J. Perkins. There was some good action in this match. It was a decent match. It was... but it doesn't really do anything going into the pay-per-view match, because Neville just kind of has a stare down with Aries after the match. He didn't really get much added to it. I feel like they've kind of done what they needed to do storyline-wise, and this was kind of just a filler to remind you. It's like, hey, this match is happening at the pay-per-view. But otherwise, decent match. I at least enjoyed the action inside the ring. All these guys are good inside the ring. But, again, it doesn't really add much to the pay-per-view match on Sunday. Up next, though, was Braun Strowman versus Kalisto in that dumpster match. Man, what can you say about this match? First of all, I know I've seen the dumpster matches in the past and everything, but last I remember you had to close the lid on the dumpster to win. But they just kind of get away with that. It's like, oh, if you put them in the dumpster, you win the match. And that's how they get Kalisto the win. He just gets a fluke win and then gets, well, he was getting destroyed beforehand, but he gets absolutely destroyed after the match, completely destroyed with everything in there. Before I keep going on with this, because I did like certain things about this with Kalisto. He showed a lot of fire in his backstage promo with Kurt Angle about saying, he gets what's going on. He gets that he'll probably get destroyed by Strowman and everything in that sense, but I've got to do this. I've got to actually do this and go out there and whatever, because he basically got treated like trash the week before, where and even asked, like, to Kurt, like, have you ever felt that way? It's like, yeah, you get that look in his eye. It's like, well, I was in TNA Impact Wrestling for a while. Nah, actually, he probably really I'm kind of just rambling on that one, but after the match, he gets the fluke win with a drop kick, and Strowman just falls into the dumpster. Again, I thought you had to shut the lid for that one, for winning the match, but I guess not in this case. And Strowman just completely destroys Kalisto, and eventually puts him in the dumpster, rolls it up the rampway, and it's like he's teasing that he was just going to leave it there, and then he storms back out and then pushes it off the stage with Kalisto still inside. Not a bad destruction with everything. Good way of getting Strowman's heat back after, what would be quote unquote an embarrassing loss. He gets his heat back by completely destroying Kalisto, both in the match and after the match to go along with it. And I thought it came off rather well. It got over, again, the aspect of how monstrous Strowman is, and that's what they just needed to do going into his pay-per-view match with Roman Reigns, who, again, doesn't even show up on this show. You have a video package later later in the show based around Roman Reigns. He gives a quick interview for WWE.com or something in that sense. And then they had a video package basically showing everything between Strowman and Roman Reigns. I like how they portrayed it as well. Even though Strowman did lose their match at Fastlane, they still do, which they depicted in that match as well. It's like, this is a struggle for Roman Reigns to be able to win this match, because Strowman has so much power behind him and so much athletic ability that most big men don't have, and they make it feel like a struggle for Roman Reigns. So again, I thought that came off rather well in that sense of it, to go along with everything. And I get why they kept him off of TV, because his brother did just pass away last week as well. So they were probably keeping him off TV one more time, just to let him grieve again and everything in that sense. So that's always a good thing on that side of it as well. Up next, though, you had a promo from Bray Wyatt on his match with Randy Orton, and this promo was basic. This one was a lot better of a promo. It wasn't just like a lot of different words and everything. This was like, Bray saying, he's like, I can't let this go, what you did to my house, the compound, and everything in that sense of it. And I thought the promo just came off really well done and really well put together, of like how much this kind of, like how intense Bray was about towards Orton with what happened with the whole compound and the burning down of the house and everything in that sense, and the match at WrestleMania. Sorry, okay, I've got a runny nose today, so it's a little so if you see me doing this every now and again, I'm sorry about that. So the only thing I really want from this match is for it to be an interesting match with the House of Horrors match. Now we do have a little bit of something that we know. So apparently this match is supposed to start in the House of Horrors. So it's going to probably start backstage somewhere, whatever they have set up for the House of Horrors. And apparently it's supposed to end in the ring, or something in that sense. They announced something a little bit later on in the night, and it is definitely like I said, all I want is for this match to be somehow interesting in some way, shape, or form. I don't have high hopes for it, but we'll see how it comes off. I did have high hopes back with the final deletion and everything in that sense, and then I ended up absolutely loving it. So we'll see how it comes off today as well. And sorry, there was a fly. I guess a fly got into my place today, so it's kind of been bugging me all day as well. So you might see me do that as well throughout the video. But let's continue on with everything, as everything's getting like a little bit distracting in this sense of it today. Up next was Dana Brooke versus Alicia Fox. Short match. Nothing much to say here because honestly, I did not like the in-ring action to this one. The way, and I've seen Dana Brooke deliver that fireman's carry like Michigan Oku driver a lot better than what she did, but it just did not look good tonight in any way. Like, she just didn't look good in the ring tonight. Again, you just go on the aspect is like, okay, she was brought up way too early. It's like you almost want her to potentially go back down to NXT to try to get some more reps in and everything in that sense down there, and then maybe try to bring her back up or something in that sense afterwards. But afterwards, Emma was looking on throughout the match and goes in and hugs Dana after the match to try to help celebrate or a little bit in that sense. So there's kind of bringing this whole thing between Dana and Emma back what they were doing before. It's going to be interesting to see if they turn Dana back as a heel and have her team up with Emma, or if she's going to just end up having a match with Emma at some point down the road. We'll see where they decide to go with everything. Up next, though, was a promo with Samoa Joe and Gallows and Anderson, which they didn't do any advertising for this match in any way. It was just like, yeah, they're going to have a 6-man tag tonight. Okay. They're going to have a 6-man tag against Rollins and Enzo and Cass. They cut a promo basically saying what they were going to do to all of them throughout the night. Joe and Gallows and Anderson, they came off really good in this promo. I like the aspect of Gallows and Anderson saying it's like, we've met with Brother Joe before, and we've discussed strategies and everything in that sense of how beating people up and, you know, dishing out punishment. So they were, because they were asked like, how you guys you've never tagged before, how are you guys gonna, you know, coexist? It's like, well, we've talked before, we can coexist type feel to go along with it. So good promo from all sides there. I ended up enjoying that promo. So this brought us to the actual match itself. They take out Enzo before the match as they go to commercial break. They Gallows and Anderson and Joe basically beat up on Enzo and Cass for a little while. They take out Enzo with the Magic Killer on the outside of the ring, and Cass and Rollins kind of thinned them off a little bit. So they cut the commercial break. When they come back from commercial break, Kurt Angle's out there. Is like, this isn't going to be a handicap match. Matter of fact, I've got a replacement for you, and it ends up being Finn Balor. And it's like, okay, that's really good. It's like, okay, that one's really good. The match, I thought it was a pretty good match. Pretty good 6-man tag. Rollins pulls out that new knee finisher that he has. It's kind of like how it would start the Rainmaker from Okada in Japan, but he, instead of doing like a clothesline, he does a knee afterwards. And he did this after teasing. It's like, I'm going to go for the pedigree. No. And then goes ahead and does the new finisher to go along with it. I'm not 100% certain about the finisher, but it was the first time we saw it in that sense of it. So we'll see how it plays off over the next couple of weeks and everything in that sense. And it does come a little bit more believable because of what Seth Rollins had done to Cena's nose way back when, that this could become a finisher. But we'll see how that ends out playing out, and we'll see how that finisher continues to look the more he ends out using it down the road here. So now you have a couple of segments backstage with Miz trying to find a partner. Initially, he was talking with Cesaro and Sheamus. They kind of refused and everything in that sense. But you also had a bit where, like, they were going to interview Heath Slater and Curtis Axel, who are in the Marine 5, and Miz comes up to them. and it's like they kind of refuse to it, and Miz is like saying, it's like, oh, you'll never work in this town again. And I like the aspect of Heath Slayer's like, I've already got a tag team partner, and Rhino comes in, just strolls in there, kind of talking and doing the whole thing with the cheese and the crackers and everything in that sense. Tries to give one to Maurice, and she just slaps it in his face with on there. Yeah, I'm stumbling over everything again, guys. I seem to do that every single one of these. I seem to stumble around my words every now and again. But eventually, Miz was given a piece of paper. It's like, oh, it seems like someone's going to be going to be my tag team partner, and it's going to be a very good one and everything in that sense. But we'll talk about that one a little bit later, because but before we go into everything, you had another backstage segment with Kurt Angle and The Miz, and Kurt was like, so who's your tag team partner? It's like, oh, he's going to be a great tag team partner and everything. And lo and behold, who just strolls into the background, and this was after he was talking with Austin Aries about a 205 Live promo, and like Austin Aries had given Kurt Angle a banana afterwards. That's Austin Aries' like thing as well, as the whole banana thing. So Kurt Angle's still holding the banana with this as well, and the Drifter just strolls by, strumming the guitar, and you just see Kurt's like, that guy? No, not that guy. It's like, well, best of luck. I won't need it. Type bit. Again, nice little comedy spot put in there, and I like what they're doing with the Drifter right now. They don't necessarily have him going out there doing matches. They just have him like sitting there, strolling around the place, drifting around. I mean, it's the gimmick and everything. So not a bad one. I actually liked that segment right before the main event. Up next, you had Alexa Bliss come out, and she comes out there. She cuts her promo on Bayley. I like how she cuts her promo on Bayley. She does do it in the same way that basically like Charlotte and Nia does, like, oh, she's living her dreams, everything in that sense. And then I like the aspect of like how she plays it up, how disgusted she is with Bayley and how she acts and everything in that sense. This does have Bayley come out. She starts cutting her promo on Alexa Bliss, and I'm gonna go off and say this how it is right now, with at least promo wise with Bayley. I feel like they are trying too hard to garner sympathy towards Bayley in that sense. They don't really you see this in the promo tonight. In there, I thought her promo was a little bit better, and what she did on commentary during the Alexa Bliss and Sasha match, I thought was pretty good as well. But they go on this aspect of her kind of standing up for herself a little bit, but then you give her an insult or something like that. She kind of gets that puppy dog look in her eyes that just got scalded. I kind of want them to stop doing that with everything. And the promos that they have been giving her haven't been they don't seem to come out as natural as they did during the NXT time. And I don't know if that's an aspect of nerves, of being on the main roster or something in that sense, or being put in a top position so quickly within the main roster as well. I don't know. But you do get a different feel from Bayley on the main roster than you did on NXT. And that's just something I've noticed, and I'm bringing it out now. I've noticed it for quite a while, but I mean, tonight, like, promo-wise, it wasn't bad for Bayley, but it wasn't that good still. And the stuff that came out on commentary, I thought was a lot better, because they were teasing towards Sasha and Bayley. Like, Bayley saying, it's like, well, she'll earn a title shot, and of course of course she would want to face Sasha and everything in that sense. So they're bringing it off as like, yeah, she knows Sasha wants the belt. I have the belt. We're going to probably have to fight at some point for the belt. To go along with it. So So like I said, the stuff on commentary was a lot better. But Sasha does come out during all this as well. One thing I did like is like when Bayley mentions that the title match was in her hometown. Alexa Bliss like gets completely excited. It's like, oh, cool! I get to embarrass you in your hometown. I get to take your title, and I get to embarrass you in front of your family. And like she gets overly excited about this. The thing is, I like Alexa Bliss's promos. She's got good facial reactions as well, and that kind of did help out this segment a little bit more. And then, of course, Sasha Banks came out. She cuts a promo on Alexa Bliss, and they're doing this thing again where wherever Bayley is, Sasha shows up and kind of tries to defend Bayley in some way, shape, or form to go along with it. So she cuts a promo on Alexa Bliss and then challenges her to a match. As Alexa Bliss is going to leave, she ends up getting laid out by Sasha Banks, which led into the match. This match didn't last too terribly long because it did end in countout. And again, this was also that time where Bayley was in commentary, and she goes to try to make Alexa Bliss go back to the ring. And, Alexa Bliss had gotten away from her and started running off, went backstage initially, and then Bayley had turned around to go back to the ring with Sasha, and then Alexa Bliss dashes right out there and attacks Bayley and lays her out before the pay-per-view, kind of putting her getting one over on the champion before the pay-per-view match. That match is going to be interesting because as of late, they've been having people win their matches in their hometowns. It still makes you feel like that they might put the title on Alexa Bliss though, as well. You can tell they're going for a Sasha Banks Bayley feud at some point in time, whether it be for the title or not for the title. Who knows on that one, because they could legitimately just put the title on Alexa Bliss on Sunday, just on that whole aspect that they like to kind of have that hometown person lose a lot of the times. Though, like I said, at WrestleMania, Naomi won, and then last week, Alexa Bliss won in Columbus as well. So they've kind of been allowing people to win in their hometowns as well. So we'll see how they play that one off and everything with Sunday. I think that match will actually be a pretty good one. The two of them have put on a couple of pretty good matches down in NXT. The more Alexa Bliss had learned in ring, and the further along Bayley had gone, they had actually had at least one pretty good match inside of there. So I'm pretty confident on that side of it. That they'll have a pretty good match for Sunday. Before the main event, though, before I talk about the main event, there was a couple things. Kurt Hawkins versus Apollo Crews happened. Again, they're doing this whole aspect of Kurt Hawkins coming out as like, who wants to join the Kurt Hawkins star making factory? Apollo Crews comes out, wins the match, and it was pretty much a squash match. It got to show off Apollo Crews, at least athletically. I like this aspect of Titus O'Neil coming out as well and celebrating with Apollo Crews, like taking selfies with him and everything in that sense, trying to get him to join the Titus brand to go along with it. So they're doing something with this, and we'll see how far they go with this. But you also had a backstage segment with Jericho and Dean Ambrose, where they were both kind of talking and everything, and you have Ambrose it's like, okay, I know I'm on this list. Can you take me off of this list and everything? It's like, no one just gets taken off of the list. And eventually it's like, after a little bit of talking around and everything, Jericho's like, you know what? You gave me the jacket, and yeah, I'll take you off the list. It's like, you just, or I think he just say you unmade the list or something like that, and then puts him back on as Ambrose walks away to go along with it. So this brings us to the main event of the night, which was Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho versus The Miz and no one. So Miz comes out and said, "Here's my tag team partner," and no one shows. And tries it again, no one shows. It's like, okay, we're going to have to cancel this. I'm gone. Kurt comes out. It's like, no. I said you needed to find a tag team partner for this match. You didn't find a tag team partner. That doesn't mean the match is off. Match starts. Ambrose and Jericho basically controlled most of the match. It eventually does go to where Ambrose had drugged Miz up to the announce table, and it looked like he was going to get it looked like he was going to get put through the announce table. The Bray Wyatt stuff shows up, and all of a sudden Bray Wyatt appears in front of Dean Ambrose, and he lays out Dean Ambrose on the ring apron, and Miz and Bray start attacking Jericho to go along with it. This one was a kind of an interesting one, and maybe it's going to lead into maybe it leads into something. I don't know how they're going to fully lead into this now with everything. And what was it? Where was I going with this one? So eventually, like I said, they got Jericho back in the ring, and Bray hits him with a Sister Abigail. So as they're both, as Bray is kind of standing over everybody, Miz goes in to celebrate with him, puts his arm on him, and you just see this disgusted look on Bray Wyatt's face. It's like, why are you touching me? Why? And then immediately turns around and gives Miz the Sister Abigail, and then leans over or kneels down in front of him and is like, follow the buzzards, everything in that sense. Not bad. But it leads to believe, like, what are they going for with this? The only tie-in I can really see, because they announced a Miz TV segment with Finn Balor at the Payback pay-per-view, I think it's within the kickoff or something in that sense. So maybe they're going to do something with that. I don't know. But it was kind of weird for Bray Wyatt to come out here. He had a program with Dean Ambrose a while back, which he technically won. One of the few feuds he did win at that time. And he hasn't really had anything with Jericho for a good chunk of time either. So it was kind of weird for him to come out there. The only time you can kind of get is that whole Miz TV segment with Finn Balor, and the thing that they did the first night that Bray showed up on Raw as well. So I don't know. So overall, I don't know. I still don't know what to really think about Raw this week, because it was one of those bits like your two main programs with the WWE Champion and Bray Wyatt, so you have Orton and Wyatt, they're not on the same show, and they're not really interacting with each other outside of Bray showing up on the Titantron on SmackDown. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, the other main program, they're not interacting at all. It's all promos right now. So it's really hard to say how they really did going into it. I think they did good in certain areas, but they, like, this whole aspect of, like, their two main programs not getting any interaction, like face-to-face interaction with each other going into the actual pay-per-view itself, I think kind of hurts it a little bit in that sense of it. But I still think, like, I think the Kevin Owens Chris Jericho match is going to come off really good, and I'm just hoping for the Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt match to be interesting in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like they did good in certain other areas, but again, you have two main programs, and those guys aren't even really fully interacting with each other to go along with it. So we'll see how the pay-per-view plays off this week on Sunday, and how everything ends up going. So, with that being said, that is my review this week for Monday Night Raw. Sorry that I kind of got a runny nose and like weird stuff was going on. I was like very distracted during a good chunk of this review and everything. But I hope you guys enjoyed everything, and have a great rest of your day.